It's a beautiful day in June, and we're discovering the bipolar side of New York. I'm showing you the massive construction projects that are going on, and I'm showing you the beauty that we've created. This pier that I spent a long time on today is at the end of 42nd, 43rd Street on the west side. One of the wonderful things they did in Manhattan was create this pier which looks over to the New Jersey side, the Hudson River being between us. And it's a really outstanding view, especially in the month of June when it's more clear. You are looking at the Jersey side of the exit of the Lincoln Tunnel, what they call the double helix. This area is built over a toxic dump. But the river itself is a lot cleaner. The bicycle path was built in the last 10 years, and it circles the entire periphery of Manhattan. And for anyone who is wondering, this is the Chinese Embassy, which is on the corner of 12th Avenue and 42nd Street. You can get a tiny glimpse of the Empire State Building, and even a church steeple gives you a size of the scope of what went up since. The tall building with the central spire, which I'll focus on in a moment, is the New York Times building, which is already dwarfed by the building that is going up next to it. I've made a lot of these structures that have gone up along here, but I've studied years ago. These were well-known toxic waste sites, and it's hard to get to see them. They've got a lot of fencing around it. But we got ourselves a little look here. I always like to get a perspective of New Jersey from Manhattan because of the beautiful Palisades. And this building, you can tell by its big opening that it was once a stable. There were a lot of stables around here. They're actually all over Manhattan on the ends near the rivers. There were a lot of stables that were converted like this into an apartment building. And on either side you've got tall buildings. That's the air rights, which they've sold once again. It's even impossible to know if engine rescue company number 1 sold their air rights, because there's a tall building next to that. But the other side of the street gives us the real story of what the west side is, which is industrial. However, if you go behind there and you see the building, which is on probably 45th, that was once a manufacturing building. It is now co-ops, luxury apartments. You can probably tell just by the fixtures inside. As you can see, these are the tracks that come from Penn Station, which were out of use for many years. They're in use now, but they don't look very nice, do they? So it was clear that this was an industrial zone and was meant to stay that way for a long time. We didn't cover them up, not yet anyway. And the buildings that are all over here, the ones that are low, were all tenements, or they were manufacturing sites, which most of it is all gone. Most of the manufacturing structures are gone. I mean, this is not manufacturing anymore, it's a car rental place. And they're really under threat, including the buildings next to it. Much more in danger because that one faces 10th Avenue, and we've reached 10th Avenue, which is very pretty these days. As you can see, the building in the center of the two has been converted. I'll show you its neighbor, which is worse. This doesn't go at all. I mean, it looks like it belongs in San Francisco or in Miami. And worst of all, the big problem is the tenants that are on the ground, the street level, are big corporations that can afford the extremely high rents that are pushing everybody else out. In New York, when you can't have a Chinese restaurant in your neighborhood because the rent's too high, you know there is a problem. I love to kid about my neighborhood with supermarket, which sits in this low-income building for artists and musicians, etc. Been here since the 70s, but this supermarket hasn't. It's just a glorified A&P, and the prices are about 3 times as high for most products. This is a park which was built because of the air rights. This often happened too. You trade space, public space, and it's a park which is open till about midnight. It's a decent place. As you can see, the one side of 43rd Street has a rhythm to it. It's rather easy to understand. It's you know, from a certain period. It's got some sort of integrity to it. But the other side of the street made an attempt to start that way, to give like a mirror to it, but it's just covering up what's behind it. It's hard to imagine that the builders of this German church in the 1855 would think that this would become an off-Broadway theater, which is fairly successful, but that's exactly what's happened to this and many other churches in Manhattan, especially on the West Side. Of course, New Yorkers love the Westway Diner and all diners, which were once run by Greeks. Who knows who runs them now? In the 80s that started to change as people didn't want to do that anymore. They were becoming upwardly mobile. They were once reasonable places to eat, but now they're all overpriced. And that sign up there is about probably 10 years old. The buildings that are next to it have all changed hands and they've become look like T-Mobile, American Apparel, boring. But there are still some shops on the end that are privately owned. And looking up uptown on 9th Avenue, you can sort of get an idea of old meeting new. New being in the background, that's Columbus Circle area, 57th Street. And what is below it is the tenements that are left, which are all going to go down at some point the next time that we start to build again. But that's going to be a while, probably. So we're going to be looking at these. That's nice. We still have the occasional building where people actually do something. There's somebody in there sewing. So we still have manufacturing in some small sense in New York. No idea who would want to live behind the Port Authority bus terminal, the entrance to the Lincoln Tunnel, but there are a lot of buildings here that have gone up which are in high traffic zones. I have no idea how people are going to recoup their investments. Starting out with that the center was once what they call like a crack hotel. It was, before that of course, it was a regular hotel, then it was a residence hotel, and it went downhill from there. And then it became a model and it became low-income housing, something like what I live in. It's a nice place, actually, pretty well run. But if you look around it, over the years, they've sold off, I think they sold off their air rights. And they don't have any fresh air. Fortunately, they don't have any windows on the two sides of the buildings. But okay, you can't put down Papaya Dog and the barbershop. Well, this entire block is probably in danger of being torn down for some other structure, another tall building, because there's room. What would be worse is the side that I'm standing on now, which has our cheaper supermarket and our 99 cent. And our side of the street, right, we're on the west side of it, has our 99-cent pizza joint. There's another one down the street. It's really nice to have, and there's fresh fruits and vegetables under a tent. Very cheap. And the reason why I voice such concern is the two buildings here have gone out of business, and the buildings are essentially blank, waiting to be torn down for something else, and I think they got their eye on the whole block. And this is basically part of the entrance, the buses part, to get to the Lincoln Tunnel. This is probably one of the worst streets in New York you'd want to live in, and this is one of the feeder street to the entrance to the Lincoln Tunnel. Which one is the prettiest? Well, I give you my vote. It's the one that's the old hotel, which was built in the 20s. We're always indebted to our 99-cent pizza guys who do a wonderful job at everything they do.